This is the Simpit. I'm your host, Shaun Cole, but the real star of today's show is Jay Ekkel of Simbin. And he's here today with me on Skype, and we're going to get to the bottom of many questions you might have for Simbin and for Jay. Jay, thank you very much for joining me today on the show. How you doing?
I'm great. Fine. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's a real pleasure to have you on. Simbin, you guys have been in the news a lot lately. A lot of people have a lot of questions. We're going to get to all of that. But first, this is the first time I've really spoken to you. We've chatted, we've sent messages, but this is the first time we've really had a one-on-one. And for many people out there, this is probably the first time they've ever seen you or heard your voice. They probably know the name Jay of Simbin, but this is a first for many people. So before we get to the nitty-gritty on Simbin, I want to talk to you about you a little bit. So Jay, how old are you?
I'm 32 years old, young.
32 years young. Yeah, for me, I call that young. And where do you live and where do you work?
I live in Holland, or the Netherlands. Depends on where you live, how you call it. That's where I live and that's where I work.
Okay. And do you often go into the studio or do you do everything from home?
Most of it I do from home. We try to go to the studio once, maybe every 2 months or something. But I've been doing this for so long that I know what they want and they know what they can expect from me. So there's no real need for me to be there every month. We've been there, done that. We know what we have.
Excellent. And are you currently married? Do you have kids?
I'm not married, living together with my girlfriend. She's living, she accepts me living here now. So not single, living together, no kids yet, knows, we'll see.
And she's okay with all that gear back there as well?
As long as it doesn't leave this room, she's okay with it. But I've heard some complaints that I make some noise in the gear over there, so I tend to keep it during daytime, not too much nighttime, because some people gotta sleep and gotta wake up early in the morning.
Right, so you have the same troubles as all of us sim racers.
Yeah, it's the same for everyone.
And beyond sim racing, do you have other hobbies or interests, things you do outside?
I'm one of these guys that really enjoys sports. I sport at least 3 times a week, more if possible. If I don't, I'll go stir crazy.
Right. What kind of sports you do?
Primarily badminton. I really love. I've been doing that. I'm 32. I started when I was like 4 or 5 years old, so that's one of my other hobbies.
Right.
And besides that, cycling, running, CrossFits. Basically, get the energy out of my system, which is good.
You're a pretty athletic guy then in general.
Well, I like to think so.
So are you a racing fan or just sim racing? How does that work out for you?
I'm both. It started out with being a racing fan, being small, seeing these cars on TV, in real life. It's just, it grabs you. So that's how it started, and then along the way, you get your hands on a computer, and then you go like, oh, kind of games, and then racing. I enjoy all kinds of types of games. Racing is primarily one of them, but I do all kinds of stuff on the PC.
So you're sort of a general gamer all across the board.
Yeah, I do my sim racing. I do my shooters. Gaming is fun. So why not do it?
The more the merrier. I totally understand. So back to racing. Do you have a favorite type of racing when it comes to just viewership?
Viewership, Formula 1, of course. I'll wake up in the middle of the night for that. No problems. Besides that, one of my favorite series is the V8 Supercars.
Yeah.
Which is just unbelievably... That's just, every racing series should take that series as an example.
I look at that as being like the road racing NASCAR. And it's like NASCAR's always been known for excitement, with the door-to-door action. And then here comes V8 Supercar and like takes that mentality and puts it into a road racing format.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah. So you've worked at Simbin for quite a while. What is your position there?
Well, I have to correct you on one thing. What was my position there, of course. We'll get to that later. I've been there for since almost day one. I've been here for almost 11 years. My position now is licensing manager, which basically means I take care of all the cars, all the tracks, make sure everything is arranged so that we can use them in the game.
Excellent. So 11 years ago, were you sweeping the floors and now you're the licensing manager?
Well, that's roughly where I started. Yeah, I think the first thing I ever did for Simbin was a website, to be honest.
Uh-huh.
And then I started doing tracks, and from there, or trackside objects, and then onto tracks. Did a little bit of car stuff. From there, I went to reference managing, so I travel around, still do that today. From there, producing, and from there to where I am right now.
And as a licensing manager, what are some of your day-to-day activities? I mean, what does that job
It
take?
can be quite boring, I have to say. I mean, there is a lot of legal stuff that you have to look at. So there's a lot of reading involved in agreements. But the nice or the cool part about this position is you get to seek out certain people, which is sometimes a challenge. You're finding the right person. And negotiate with them, to get the best price for us. Because there is a lot of competition out there that just, they whop out a big bucket of money and say, here you go.
Right.
For us, that's not an option. So
Right.
there's a lot of negotiation involved as well.
Now, the total sidetrack here, I mean, I didn't even know I was going to ask you this question, but you brought something up and I kind of want to go to it. But when it comes to licensed content, I mean, I'm assuming each manufacturer kind of feels a different level of pride or entitlement to what they should get based on the success of their brand name, I'm assuming. But are there cases where it's the opposite? I mean, do you get a case where a car manufacturer or track wants more promotion? I mean, to me, I see you guys as a marketing point for these places. So I watch as we pay for licensing, and I wonder when the coin flips to where we charge them to be in our games. I mean, do you ever see it going that far?
That coin flips as soon as you have a brand like Forza Motorsports.
Right. Okay.
That's easy. That's basically how it is. I mean, if you ever reach, I don't know what they sell, but I mean, they sell millions of copies.
Yes.
Then suddenly for them, it's like, ooh, you reach millions of people. I'll pay
Right.
you money to be on the cover.
Right. Right.
And for us, that's not the case.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of, it's a broader market.
Yeah, that's something I think that we overlook in racing and in sim racing in general. The money that is behind everything. No matter how you slice anything in this world, it comes down to the nuts and bolts, which is money. And the more numbers, the better your money works, and the smaller numbers, the more it's going to cost you. All right, well, thank you for answering that. But now I want to move on to something else. I think it's on most people's thing. My job here is to be blunt and also fair. And lately, people have been talking news. There have been rumors. There have been stories. And, I've heard bankruptcy. I've heard closing the doors down. I know when it comes to any of this, it gets tricky. There's legal stuff behind the scenes. So I'm asking you, I mean, point blank, is Simbin still in business? I mean, you're here talking to me. That's a good sign. Is Simbin still in business?
Yeah, well, the easiest way to explain it is same studio, different name.
Okay.
That's the easiest way to explain it. That's basically what it is.
Right.
It's a name change. Of course, there will be structural changes inside the company and with the relationships we have with our parent company. There will be changes there. But in essence, it means same studio, different name, same projects.
Perfect. I think that clear. I mean, that for me, that clears the air exactly. So, with that said, you've got your core team, and how are you guys going to move forward like that?
Okay, the answer there is philosophical. In order for us to move forward, it's actually looking back. Back where we came from, back to the roots. Looking at the way people experience the game rather than just delivering a game. I think that's a good way of describing it. I mean, we've worked on this project for quite some time, but along the way and in between, things needed to be done. From a business perspective, and that's where we're gonna focus on. We just gotta move forward. We gotta make the game, a proper experience, as people expect us to make.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, you guys have a huge reputation, and you have a lineage of games that I mean, I see the GTR sign in the background. It's like you have titles that people have clung on to for many years, and So Now let's talk about some of the products. I mean, GTR, I just brought it up. Raceroom right now is online. I had just had somebody ask me the other day about it, wanted me to revisit it because I haven't, really done a review of any kind of it since it really first came out. Is that something you guys are still working on, pushing forward with, or is that?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, we scraped the surface for what we have in plan for Raceroom Racing Experience. I mean, there's so much potential with this game. Like I said, we've just scraped the surface. I mean, if you're going to review the game, I would highly recommend you to wait a little bit. I mean, the guys are working on the new force feedback, which is, I've tried it myself yesterday for the first time. Didn't want to try it while they were developing it. I just wanted to try it when it was close to final, just to get this, fresh cut experience.
Right.
And it's pretty damn good. And the art guys, they have upgraded the tracks visually and physically, so it works really well together with the force feedback. I mean, sounds we've always nailed. The portal is gonna be expanded. Making it a proper portal as it should be. Right now, it's just I don't want to say a dead thing, but that's pretty much what it is because there's no interaction between people. And all these things we wanted to do those, but there were so many things stopping us from doing it. And now it's time now to refocus, and deliver these core things. Let's not forget single player. Let's not forget multiplayer.
Right.
We've not been able to, for whatever reason, we've not been able to deliver them already.
Okay.
But right now it's we refocused, and see, getting FFB right, single player in, multiplayer in. I mean, those are cornerstones for any game.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the main focus right now, and afterwards, I always say the possibilities are endless.
Right.
And that's pretty much why we started this project, is because we wanted to deliver a product that was endless.
Right. So do you feel with everything that's gone on that you guys have sort of had like a glass ceiling, so to speak, broken, and that it's just wide open as to what you can do now?
It's not like that we've been stopped before from above. It's more, as a great example is the DTM. I mean, we barely started developing Raceroom, and in comes DTM. Do you want to do? I mean, we had to fight for it to get it, of course, because there were other people trying to get it. It was the question: do we want it or don't we want it? And we said, we're going to go for it and see if we're going to get it. But that also meant that as soon as we got it, you make a promise to deliver something, right?
Right.
And that promise of delivering something also means that you have to shift focus from what you were doing to what you need to be doing. And it took months for us to do the TM experience.
Right.
But that also meant that basically we were months behind on certain other things that were planned to do.
Yeah.
So it's a give and take.
Yes.
Was it early? Yes, it was. It was like a year earlier than we wanted to.
Right.
But not doing it then means we would not been able to do it next year.
Yes. And I think that's the same boat that many sim companies are in also. It's like you have a plan, you have an agenda, something new comes up and you have to make a decision. Which path do you want to be on now? And maybe you have certain obligations that you have to fulfill in order to, but I totally, my show is the same way. I have a plan, I have shows I'm creating, and then something comes up and it bumps everything else off the schedule for a little while, which is unfortunate for those other topics, but it's great for the product or that topic that got bumped. So moving forward, when I think of Simbin, I associate you guys with GTR, GT Legends, GTR 2, the myth and legend that was going to be GTR 3. So the main question I have is, two part. Let's start with GTR 3. I remember when it was announced. I remember the world threw a giant parade, and then it was kind of shelved. Is there anything you can tell me about GTR 3?
I can make a small comment on that, and that's where I'm going to leave it. Is that, some time ago we decided that GTR 3 needed to be, it deserves a proper game. That's fact.
Yes.
So we decided it needed to be larger than just sim racing. And, in order for us, we're a small team. So in order for us to do that, we sought out a UK-based race game developer to deliver this. And, on paper, it was a fantastic collaboration. Sadly enough, that turned out not to be the way we hoped it. And until today, we have to find a solution for the situation we're in now.
So is that something that you guys intend on putting out someday?
Right now it's, that's for management to look at. On a daily basis, I don't want to say we don't care about GTR 3, but we have racing experience to care about. So when the day comes and we can do GTR 3, we definitely will inform people about it.
Okay, fair enough. A little bit of insight at least, and I know it's good to know that it's something that could be, because I know it's one of those
Yeah, I've heard that before, which is, for me, is strange. Really, for me, it doesn't matter if it's called GTR 3 or Little Pony Racing.
Right.
If the game is good,
yeah,
I don't know what it's called.
Yeah.
So, it's probably the name builds up an expectation, but in the end,
right.
If the product is, similar, if it's called GTR 3 or GTR 722.
Exactly. At some point, it doesn't matter anymore, really. And I mean, that kind of takes me to something else. I mean, one of my favorite games you guys ever produced was GT Legends. It was extremely unique. It was rare. It was unique. It was very special. It had a huge fan base, but it was sort of a cult following at the same time. So in the past, I think of you guys as these games, individual titles like that. When I look at Raceroom, I look at that being as more of a, here's the title and we keep adding to it. An evolution title, which is kind of more current. I mean, I see this being more of a common trend. Is if you guys pursue Raceroom, is that the path it's on? And I'll bring up like iRacing, like Assetto Corsa, even like Forza to an extent with the way they continue adding content, except they put out a Forza 5, 6, whatever. But I mean, so the real question, is Raceroom going to be an evolution sim that continually grows, or is it going to see a final date where, oh, you can get it for this much money, it's done?
No, the way we look at Raceroom, it's maybe a little bit different than the way you look at it. I and us, with that I mean us, we look at it as a platform, as a platform to create a GT Legends, to create a GTR, to create a VTCC game, and then Raceroom is then the center hub of it.
And so then these could be modules or whatever you want to call them, add-ons that can expand Raceroom, so to speak.
Yeah.
I gotcha. Okay, that's exactly what I want to know. So, I mean, from everything I've heard, Simbin is strong in terms of what's important to me, what's important to the sim racers out there, the group that has the heart and soul of the company and wants to make a great sim and continue progressing forward. So, what's next for you guys?
Well, we kind of touched on it earlier. I mean, force feedback. I mean, we've got some great people inside the studio and externally. That have this. How do you call it? In German, they call it Fingerspitzengefühl. They are like, oh, the FSB is wrong, and I'll go sit there and like, works for me. But they are just okay. So they have looked at it, they have done things with it, and as I said earlier, I tried it, and yeah, they were right. It's way, way, way better now. I mean, that's one of the things that I think a lot of people are looking forward to. We upgraded track visuals just to be, better fitting. Higher resolution textures. For me, an annoyance always was the low resolution curbstone textures, for example. All gone. And on top of that, they've also changed the way the game or the car interacts with the track surface. So it's with the new FFB and the new track surface, it just really works well together, which it just lifts the whole game to. I've played it, and it just it sucks you in more than it did before. It sounds. I mean, how are you gonna progress from something already fantastic? I mean, Anthony does a really fantastic job on it. I think the first time we're going to mention this date, September 9th.
Where's my pen? September 9th, okay.
September 9th. September 9th, target date. Let me be clear on that. Target date, September 9th. First release of the ADAC GT Masters.
Really?
I didn't say experience. So this means that we will release it as a content pack.
Okay.
So this is for the platform itself. It means you can either buy the cars, you can either buy the tracks, you can buy both.
Right.
I mean, that's one thing for September 9th.
So this is exactly what we just talked about. This is like one of those modules or expansions to the Raceroom overall package.
Yeah, this is like, I don't want to say half the package.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if we do like DTM experience, I mean, you in the menus you get a button DTM experience, you click it, and you come inside the DTM experience. That's what we call an experience. The first release for ADAC GT Masters will be purely content.
Okay.
So you buy it in the store,
gotcha.
And you can access it from the Raceroom Racing. It's not an experience. That will come later on.
Gotcha.
When we do the current season, because this is the 2013 season we will be covering in the first release.
No, I'm glad you clarified that, because that exactly shows how it breaks down within Raceroom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. September 9th, what's more to come? Single player.
Okay.
I mean, we've had it for some time with DTM experience, but with the menus we had, it was really hard to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So we waited a bit. September 9th, we will do single player for Raceroom Racing experience. September 9th, we will release multiplayer for Raceroom Racing experience. September 9th. It's like this date, this works.
Don't hold him to that date, but it tells you how close things are.
Yes. I mean, new content will come. There will be a lot of additional content. So we have cars and we have liveries. There will be a lot of new liveries, and there will be more. Probably most if not all liveries will be free. The force feedback will come. I'm using my cheat sheet here for a second right now. That's I think that's the important topics there.
Okay.
And there will be an update to the store where we will implement a feature that a lot of people ask for is to either buy content in packs. And then when you buy in packs, that will get a discount.
Okay.
Pretty much similar to what iRacing does.
Right.
So bundled content that is cheaper than if you buy it single.
Sure. So as you continue to buy more, it gets less and less expensive to continue.
Yeah. This is the first iteration that will be implemented, and then we will expand on it throughout the rest of the development, of course.
Cool. That's very exciting. You guys. So September. Any idea how often we'll see updates? I mean, do you guys have I mean, that's way early, I'm sure, but any idea what you're shooting for? I mean, have you talked that?
No, I think, right now, since, not since the news happened, we've been focused on this prior to the whole situation. This is now main focus. Right now is, get this, don't get this out the door. That might sound a little bit wrong, but, get it done.
Yes.
Lift this game to, the level it deserves. Give people access to single player, give people access to multiplayer. I mean, that will show, hopefully pull people in, and how, in my opinion, how great this game is. Because it's really, really good.
Okay.
So I mean, by adding these components, I mean, right now, I have to be fair, it's just hot lapping.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
If you don't have DTM, it's just hot lapping, and I'm not a hot lapper.
Right.
I get quite bored of it after doing it for 30 minutes.
Right.
So adding these, these components where you can race against AI and where you can race against other people. I mean,
yes,
that's what it's about.
Yes, absolutely. That's going to be a giant step for you guys. Giant step. So I'm going back in time in my memory, and I'm thinking back to one of my favorite things that you guys ever did, and it was the VWTCC competition. And you guys, you had the module, the game to match it. You had the competition coinciding with the real life thing. There was a lot of money at stake. There was a lot of pride at stake. And it was, to me, it was one of the greatest things that ever happened in sim racing, honestly. Just taking us to that highest level like that. Any plans of something? I mean, that's a giant step. I mean, but is that anything that you guys would do in the future, something like that?
I mean, it's been always been part of the plan. I mean, the downside of that plan is you can't do it on your own.
Right.
I mean, we can deliver the game, we can deliver the software, we can deliver the simulators, we can deliver a truck with simulators, we can deliver people that can run the event. But I mean, the logistics and the support and the marketing around it, that can't depend on just us.
Right.
That's out of the question.
Right.
So in order to do this for, let's say, DTM, as an example, I mean, we wouldn't be able to do that on our own. We would need support from the manufacturers. We would need support from the organization.
Right.
I mean, these things just take time.
Yeah.
You can't expect that just to snap your fingers.
Right.
They're all on board.
Yeah.
I mean, they have budgets to look at. They have their own activities to look at. They have to see. So there's a lot of moving components that all need to be synced.
Right.
And that's just going to take time.
Yeah.
But it's always been on the plan. I mean, even now on Sim Racing Expo, it's called. At the Nürburgring. I mean, we're there. We'll be there with like 30 simulators.
Right.
We're having qualifying online right now. People will be invited to come there, to qualify up until a final. I mean, during a real race weekend, on the Nürburgring. I mean.
Yeah. Well, and that's excellent. I mean, to me, I applaud you guys, because to me, that's the best exposure for sim racing. And I think there are a lot of sim racers out there who aren't sim racing because they don't know it exists. And that is the kind of moment where it might be a lot of people's first time they ever see and realize, oh, wow, this is something I can do at home. That's
absolutely
fantastic. So this falls right into your job category. I'm sure you can't tell me, but I got to ask, any licenses coming up that we could know about or should know about?
I think most of it you probably already know or have seen, because we've hinted and we've teased some of these things. I think the Audi R18, I think we've teased it. That's coming. And it takes time to make these cars. So that's one of the cars that is coming. We just licensed the Chevrolet Corvette C7R. So that's fresh, basically fresh off the printer. When that's going to be released, that's a question.
Right.
I don't plan. So I've licensed it, and we're going to look at when and where we're going to use that car.
Well, you just said the key word there, Jay. Getting the license is one part, and I'm sure you're always on the quest, but implementing it into the sim, finding out where it fits into Raceroom, and is probably the second. I mean, it's not automatic. It's like, well, where's its place?
And licensing is just step one. I mean, you license a car, and I mean, then somebody's got to make the car. Then somebody's got to make physics for the car. Somebody's got to make sounds for the car.
Right.
I mean, licensing is just it's a large part of the investment you do.
Yeah.
Cost-wise, but after that, I mean, there's months of work that comes after it.
Sure.
It's just it's just step one. I think we've had some cars on our shelves for some time. One of them being the Ford Falcon V8 supercar. We never really released it because we didn't want to introduce another single car class with just one car in it. So to fix that solution, we just licensed the Volvo S60 V8 supercar. So that makes two.
Yeah.
And so again, now we have a matching pair. So we're gonna see when we're gonna make those cars and when we're gonna release it. But I mean, at least they're licensed. So I mean, step one is done.
Excellent. You just brought up something else, having the sister car. And I think when I think of Simbin products, one of the things that I think actually makes you guys a little unique is that your games or sims have always focused on multiple cars on the track at the same time. It hasn't been here's a bunch of car A running against 35 other car A's. It's always been a focus on mixed group racing. And I mean, that's something I love. It's where I've always been a fan of that type of racing. So you guys have always made a product that followed exactly what I think of in my head when I think of racing, honestly. So, one more question for you regarding Simbin, and then I just have a couple other general questions for you, and I think we're pretty much done. But at this point, how big is the Simbin team?
Right now, I mean, after the restructure, and again, you refer to it as Simbin. I mean, we don't have a new name for the studio yet, but it's not called Simbin. Right now, we are 25. Mainly, it's a mixture of programmers, artists, and some management people. And of course, sound and physics.
So it's still a pretty good core group.
Yeah, I like to look at it as mean and lean right now.
Right.
I mean, we the larger the group gets, the harder it gets to maintain focus. Right now, we needed this moment to refocus, and 25, I would say it's like a perfect number.
Yeah.
It's a small group that really wants to work together, that really wants to deliver a great product.
Right.
That's all we need right now.
So how are you guys going to go about picking a new name?
We have a page on our internal wiki. I've seen the weirdest names come by. But we'll see. I mean, options are open.
Yeah.
Could be called anything.
Yeah, you want everyone to email you their suggestions? No.
Well, they can send it to you and tell me on the chat. I get plenty enough emails already. So.
All right, fair enough. All right, well, okay, a couple questions. I don't know if you've had a chance to try like a Bodner wheel or an AccuForce or an EC Sim hardware. Any of these, I'm going to refer to them as super wheels, these $2,000, $3,000 wheels. Have you tried any of them? And just in general, what are your opinions on this like next wave of sim hardware coming out?
I've not tried the AccuForce or the Bodner wheels. I've seen some videos, I think, from Niels Hussingveld.
Yeah.
Using that thing looks mental.
Yeah.
I almost said the F word there. You see my constraint there? It looks really, I mean, I think if you want to break a finger, that's the wheel you want to get.
Yeah.
AccuForce, same. I mean, it looks really, really good, but it's pretty high end.
Yeah.
For most of the sim races. New Fanatic lineup, I really enjoy looking at it.
Right.
I mean, I've got one here.
Yeah, I noticed that.
I really love it. Porsche wheel looks fantastic. Bit pricey.
Right.
I think one of the most exciting bit of kits that I've seen actually is the wheel hub from Fanatic, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah.
That they decided to go that way.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody has their own preferences.
Yep.
On what wheel they want to use.
Yep.
And that's you can do it with your G25 or your G27 or your Thrustmaster, but I mean, you need to get nitty gritty, nuts and bolts.
Sure.
Wires flying everywhere.
Sure.
I mean, this is just 5 volts and you're done.
Yeah. Are you willing to talk about any of the other sims out there at all? I mean, I'm not looking to put anybody over the coals, but I'm assuming you play some other games?
I play loads of games.
Yeah.
I'm fine. You can ask me anything you want.
Yeah. Any thoughts on Assetto Corsa and the path they're going?
The Italians and the Greek. Yeah. I mean, I really love these guys. I mean, I've met them a few times, and I know Aris from way back. They're great guys. I mean, one thing I really want to say is that I think it's really impressive what they've done over the years. I mean, we're 25. Consider to them, that's a large team.
Right.
I think they're in their office is maybe like 5 people, and then of course they have their consultants and their externals.
Right.
I mean, they have delivered, fantastic products.
Yeah.
Of course, slightly jealous that Marco managed to get the Ferraris.
Yeah.
And you, Marco. I have it myself. I play it, every now and then. Is it my top game? No, nothing is my top game at the moment.
Right.
I enjoy it when I play it.
Uh-huh.
For me right now, Assetto Corsa is basically missing that, that thing that grabs you.
Yeah,
that makes you want to drive more.
That je ne sais quoi.
So but I mean, when I do drive it, I do enjoy it,
Yeah.
and especially enjoy the road cars they have in there. The Aerial Atom on
Yeah.
Imola, for example, that's a great combination.
Right, right.
And the race cars, yeah,
Yeah.
that's. I mean, I'm more like a race car kind of guy, and that's where I think they can improve
Right.
something just to grab me a little bit more. But I mean, they're in development. It's an early access game.
Yeah.
They've got time left. They've got plenty of time to.
Yeah, they're very young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, damn, impressive what they've done.
I agree.
That's
I agree.
what you say.
So, kind of, what do you think of iRacing? You play that much?
The funny thing is, iRacing tricked me. They really did.
Uh-huh.
I played iRacing way in the beginning, and absolutely hated it. I just, for me, everything was weird. Oh, it didn't feel like I was sitting in a car. It didn't feel like I was. So I just went like, F this. I'm going to find something else.
Yes.
And then I think a couple of months ago they sent me, they sent these, if you're like a sleeping user, you've played it, you've not been there for like years.
Yeah.
I've not been there for 7 years.
Uh-huh. Wow.
So they said, pay me $1.
Yeah.
You get a year of iRacing. I'm like, what can you do wrong for $1, right?
Right.
So right now I think I've spent a couple of $100.
So you bought a little bit of content.
Yeah, I have to say I'm not really racing as such. I'm just picking up, test days, hosted sessions.
Right.
Some of the guys in the team, they play iRacing, so we host sessions together, we race together.
Right.
It's like a pick up, play kind of game.
Yeah.
Because I mean, their online system, it works. It's really nice.
Yeah.
And you have to find the right cars. That's why So that's what I think is a downside of iRacing. You have to spend money for potentially a car you're absolutely gonna hate.
Yes. Yes.
Which I think is a bit of a downside, because I've got plenty of cars in my library, and I go like, I shouldn't have paid money for this. I don't like it at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is a bit of a downside, I think. But then again, there's cars in there. The new Dallara, for example.
Right.
I've been playing that lately quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's a really lovely car.
Yeah.
And I mean, this week I bought Donington. Went on to it with the roof track car. Fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it almost doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah.
But then you try the same track with the V8 supercar, for example, which I would really love that car.
Uh-huh.
I just hate it.
Yeah. I understand completely.
So, it's a bit of a love-hate relation.
Yeah.
But
That's fair. That's completely fair.
I get to play with my friends and my colleagues.
Right.
I mean, that's part of sim racing, right? You want to, spend time with people or get to know, and what you can race with them.
Absolutely.
Because you know how they behave on the track, so it makes for good fun times.
Sure, because it's not racing till you're racing somebody else. It's I mean.
I should just doing laps.
The old age joke was, when was racing invented? As soon as they invented the second car, right? I mean, it wasn't racing until that second car was there. So, all right, in a generalized, we have the Xbox One and the PS4 out now, the next-gen consoles. All of the games, in my opinion, the games that have come out are still a little early. Mm-hmm. How do you see the next-gen consoles in the sim racing world, and how do you see them affecting the PC world?
Well, in all honesty, I mean, I live in Holland, and sadly enough, we don't have the Xbox One yet. So, for some reason, someone decided at Microsoft that we had to wait for like months and months. I've always been an Xbox kind of guy. I have one here. I used to play it like a lot. Lately, not so much. I mean, and one of the reasons I think why I stopped using it is, besides me playing FIFA on it, it was to play race games. I mean, I've played loads of Forza. I've really enjoyed Grid.
Uh-huh.
It's just, these pickup games where you can just have fun.
Yeah,
again,
sure.
We stopped working and went like, see you in an hour.
Yeah.
Let's play Grid.
Yeah.
I mean, going sideways, going crazy in these games, it's just good fun.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, but I have this cheap ass Xbox wheel. The one, the original one.
Yes.
To be honest, it's shit.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It's complete shit.
It's shit.
Yeah.
I mean, and I've got this Fanatic right here, and I just refuse to. I want to play Forza right now let me swap my wheel.
Right.
It's 30 minutes of effort.
Yeah, no, that's your PC rig. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, well, I'm not allowed to have a second rig, I tell you.
Yeah, we already covered that.
Yeah. So, yeah, I would love to have an Xbox One.
Right.
But until, there's going to be this wheel that I can just use for everything. I've heard what's it called, the TX. I think you can use on both Xbox and on the PC. That might be something to look into.
It's a good
But
wheel.
until that day, yeah. Are the consoles good? Yeah, they're ace. They're fantastic. Stick in a disc, it runs.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the easiest way for people to, get into gaming.
Yeah.
And with the power they carry these days, I mean, it looks fantastic. I mean, there is so much chances there
Right.
for racing.
Right.
And it's just a matter of, get the right people doing the right stuff at the right time.
Sure.
And then I'll be lining up for an Xbox One or a PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
Never had a PlayStation. I had a PlayStation once. These flappy pedals on the controllers.
Uh-huh.
I have no idea who made that up.
Yeah.
Just hate that console. But in general, they are good.
Okay.
I mean, especially nowadays, it's. Have you seen the games? They look really good.
Yeah, they're amazing looking games, and it's going to be a while, I think, till the new consoles really migrate in because of the cost and getting into it, and there's not a lot of games, quite honestly. So you
$60 for a game. Who came up with that?
Yeah, that's so. So you started at Simbin 11 years ago. 10 years ago, our industry looked nothing like it does today. So my question to you is, 10 years from now, when you're 42 and you've been at Simbin at company SB for 21 years, where do you think sim racing will be?
That's a really good question. I think a lot of it will migrate online, essentially. I mean, you already see iRacing doing it. They don't do single player.
Right.
I think you'll see a lot more of that going on. Basically not ignoring the single player, but basically focusing more on multiplayer. I mean, it's something that's been going on for quite a few years now. And why not? I mean, single player racing, it's okay. It's fine. It's a great training tool, but I think it's going to be just that. It's going to be a training tool for preparing yourself to go online. So I think that's where we will go. And then, of course, visually, I mean, look at Project Cars. Looks fantastic. So it's just going to be, stepping up. It's just going to be like, who's going to outdo who, basically.
Right.
And let's not forget stuff like the Oculus. I mean, I think, all these things that are like really gadgety right now, it's going to be like mainstream by then.
Right.
Or maybe you don't even need the funny looking machine on your face.
Right, maybe it just projects into the air.
But I mean, just imagine yourself like an Oculus experience with photorealistic graphics without you having to wear a silly
helmet.
VR machine on your face. And that's going to be mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Basically. It's going to be, and especially, for sim racing, I've tried the Oculus on several occasions, and it doesn't work for shooters, because when you play a shooter, you're moving forward or sideways, or you're docking, but me in person, I'm not docking. I'm not walking. I'm not going sideways. So it's like you're on a roller coaster ride a little bit.
Right.
But while you sit in a race seat, you're stationary.
Yeah.
I think, for the Oculus, I mean, racing games and probably flight sims and farm simulator and, that kind of stuff where you're stationary.
Yeah.
That's a match made in heaven.
I agree. And I think, and just like you said, whether it's with the mask or maybe the next gen is something not with a mask, but it's got to be the future because it's what everybody sees. And to me, 10 years is a long time. It's not a long time, but for something like that, I can see that getting a lot of expansion and really changing everything over the course of 10 years. Mm-hmm. So, well, Jay, I want to thank you for coming on the show. I want to thank you for being, really honest. I know I asked a few tough questions there about some touchy subjects, but I'm glad you had some great answers because it's important people know that you guys have a great team that's very dedicated behind your product and that you guys are moving forward. And I think that's what you made very clear today.
Oh, thanks for having us. I mean, it's been a long time coming. We never got around to do it, and now we did.
Yeah.
I think it's probably not the last time you either see something of me or maybe someone else of the team feels like being grilled by you. It's
absolutely. I think we should do it again soon. Maybe after September 9th, it'll be time to check in with you and find out what's next from you guys. Or maybe by then you'll have a firm name and we'll be able to use it.
I hope you have a name sooner than September 9th, to be honest.
Excellent. Well, Jay, thank you very much. You have a good day.
You too, man. Thank you.
So that's Jay Ekkel of Simbin. A lot of great answers, a lot of great questions, and I'm thrilled that he joined us and was so forthcoming about what they're doing moving forward. This is the Simpit. I'm Shaun Cole, and I'll see you on the track.